What is the main problem? Where does it come from? How does it impact women?
Prevention is always better than cure.
To keep those women in their place or to put them back in their place. That is essentially at the heart of this problem.
He left behind a suicide note which said, now everything is finished. I can't do anything. I can't get out of this.
And like we're always aiming to make our future bright offline, I think we should aim at making it brighter online as well.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
So today we are going to talk about cyber stalking, we are going to talk about revenge porn, we are going to talk about online harassment. There's so many things that we've already covered and we've spoken about with our experts, but this time we have some amazing experts with us, and they will highlight the insights which are really important and which is something that we usually are unaware about. So over to you, Sonakshi.
आज का एपिसोड बहुत ही खास है क्योंकि आज हम साइबर स्टॉकिंग और रिवेंज पॉर्न के बारे में बात करेंगे। ये तब होता है जब आप इंटरनेट पे बहुत ज्यादा ट्रस्ट करते हैं किसी को और बाद में जाकर ये आपको बहुत 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 हरास कर सकते हैं। And because being a woman, you know, your dignity is most important to you, and this in itself is used against you. So I feel like this is a very important topic that we must talk about today. And we have three very special guests on our show, women on the show, who are on the other side of the coin, who are the helpers, who are the warriors against online harassment and cybercrime. So let me introduce them one by one. आज हमारे साथ है मिस स्वाति लाखड़ा, एडिशनल डीजीपी वुमेन सेफ्टी तेलंगाना, जो कि जिन्होंने साइबर को लॉन्च किया है, एंड दैट इज वन थिंग दैट इज मेकिंग साइबर स्पेस वेरी वेरी सेफ फॉर वुमेन एंड चिल्ड्रन ऑल ओवर द कंट्री. सो हैप्पी टू हैव यू हियर स्वाति जी. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर बीइंग विद अस टुडे. देन वी आल्सो हैव मिस सुतापा सन्याल, हु इज द फॉर्मर डीजीपी ऑफ यूपी पुलिस, और इनके अचीवमेंट्स की लिस्ट बहुत ही लंबी है तो मैं पढ़ के आपको सुनाऊंगी. शी इज अ स्पीकर, राइटर एंड एडवाइजर ऑन इश्यूज ऑफ diversity, gender and women in leadership. She has been awarded the President's Police Medal for Distinguished Services, Police Medal for Long and Meritorious Service. Wow. Thank you so much for being with us, Sutapa ji. I can't wait to hear your insights on what we have to speak about today. And it's a very, very important topic. And I'm truly, truly happy to have you. Thirdly, we have Dr. Anya Kovacs with us, who directs the Internet Democracy Project in Delhi. The project works towards realizing feminist visions of the digital society by exploring and addressing power imbalances in the areas of norms, governance and infrastructure in India and beyond. Very, very happy to have you here today, Dr. Anya. Welcome. Revenge porn एक ऐसी चीज है जो आजकल के जमाने में बहुत ही relevant है, and lot of women are being subjected to this. स्वाति जी, मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ कि आप बताइए, if one is faced with this situation which is of revenge porn, वो क्या कर सकते हैं? इसके laws क्या है? And are they strict enough, you know, for the women to get justice for it? And I also want to ask you about your initiative जो cyber है, उसके बारे में भी आप हमें अगर थोड़ा बताइए तो it'll be great.
Okay. So good afternoon, Sonakshi ji, and I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the esteemed panelists here, my super senior Sutapa Sanyal madam, who has done a great job on women's safety, and of course Dr. Anya and Vinav and Mansi also. So coming to your question, Sonakshi, first of all, let me tell you that revenge porn actually is a little misleading because it kind of restricts the scope of the crime. You know, revenge porn, when we talk about revenge porn, it's only those where the relationship goes sour and then the person sends the pictures or videos of the person just to you know, maybe as a revenge. But we also need to see that there are so many other perpetrators who do this for various other reasons, like even blackmailing or, you know, just for entertainment or bullying, etc. So when we think about coping mechanisms, when a person sends, you know, intimate pictures or videos to their partner, it is done with a certain level of trust. So when this trust is violated, it definitely is devastating for the victim. So it not only violates the privacy, but also the dignity, I would say. So when we talk about coping mechanism, first thing I feel people should understand that they should not judge themselves, because normally there is a tendency that they feel that they are in the wrong. They are the ones who posted the pictures. So now there's no route for them. There's no place for them to go. But they should understand that the perpetrator has to be punished. And for that, they have to seek help. So if it is adolescents, I think the parents should be very, very friendly to their children so that they can speak up. That kind of a relationship should be there so that they can speak up in such cases. And of course, if, they are adults and they were in a relationship like this, I think it is important to first maybe, speak to someone whom they are comfortable with. And the other thing is that they can immediately report to the website so that they can remove the pictures or the content. But one more thing they have to understand is that once it is uploaded on a website or any social media for that matter, it can be downloaded and further circulated. So once it is up in the net, it is very difficult to actually bring it down. So the thing again is that the perpetrator has to be punished. And for that, they need to go to the police station. They need to visit the police. And there may be a cybercrime police station, nearby, or there can be normal jurisdiction police station wherein they can come and complain. But important is immediately if they feel that this has happened, they should preserve the content which they see, whether it is in the website or the social media. And they have to ensure that maybe screenshots can be taken so that it can be, tomorrow used as evidence for the person.
And I'm really glad that, you mentioned that revenge porn is a very small term and a very, it's quite a misnomer because, so many people do it not only for revenge, but like you said, for entertainment. Like I know through experience, I mean, actresses in general, their faces are morphed onto bodies of, of pornographic pictures and people. So I think it's a very, it's quite a traumatic experience to see yourself in that space. And, I'm really glad that you pointed out what can be done and the laws that are in place. And I hope that, this really encourages more women to step forward and take action. My next question is to you, Dr. Anya. You've done a lot of work for women in online spaces, and what do you feel is the source of harassment? Like, what is the main problem? Where does it come from? How does it impact women? And honestly, what needs to change? Because for me, I've always been saying that you should not be able to say something to someone online that you cannot say to them on their face. So how do we bring about that change? How do we bring about that realization that there has to be some kind of etiquette online as well?
Thank you. At the Internet Democracy Project, we started researching this issue in India in 2012, actually. So we were the very first organization to start looking at this. And what we found from the very beginning until today, that really, like all violence against women, online harassment really is, it's about power, right? It's a way to keep women who have stepped out of boundaries, however the person who's doing the harassment has defined those, to keep those women in their place or to put them back in their place. That is essentially at the heart of this problem. And the impact of that is, of course, far-reaching. On the one hand, individually, what you see is that once women have been harassed online, they often adapt their behavior. They will often post less. They will be more cautious with what they put out, where they go, what they speak up about, etc. Which means that it's really stifling women's freedom of expression once this has happened. And many women also, knowing that this is a problem, start to do this preemptively, right? You have a friend to whom something happened, and so you yourself already start to think, well, what should or shouldn't I do? That's a really big problem, actually, because what it leads to, in a more broader sense, is that this is a new public space, a space where we have debates, evolve as a society, etc. And where, once again, women, and in fact all marginalized groups, are not able to participate in the same way because of this problem. In that way, it's really similar actually to problems with the street, right? When you walk out on the street, as a woman, you're conscious that maybe in my city, I live in Delhi, I shouldn't walk out on the street wearing shorts. You're conscious of what you look like, etc. Even though online this person is not standing next to you, they cannot touch you physically in that moment, more and more of us are starting to impose those boundaries on ourselves on the internet as well. Now, in terms of what needs to change, I think what's important to recognize here, though, is that while there is something of a crisis here, there's also an opportunity. And I think we need to be really careful not to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Part of the reason this has become such a big issue is because the internet does give women new ways of expressing themselves, right? Technology does provide that space. And you see this also, I think, is again, especially for marginalized women, the way Dalit women, for example, have really started to speak for themselves in the past few years, have gained a new visibility. This is really important, but it's also threatening to some people. And what you then also see is that not all women are equally vulnerable, right? I think me in a relative position of privilege, the risk I am at for certain kinds of online harassment are lower than for Dalit women who are very outspoken about a specific politics. So I think what's really important to keep in mind when we think about change is that we have to maintain that space for those women to speak out in ways that perhaps they couldn't earlier or they can't in other spaces. And that means that we need to be careful, I think, with asking more initiatives that focus on censorship, more laws that focus on censorship. I agree with Swatiji. Actually, Indian law has quite a lot of provisions already. And in fact, with the section 66E of the IT Act that she mentioned, which looks specifically at the publication of images, even though it's not called the revenge porn law, it can be used for that. And this was passed in 2008 at a point at which almost no country in the world had this law. So in that way, we were actually early. We were path-breaking in what we brought to the table, right? But I think we really need to move away from the censorship and look much more at the other things women need as well. For example, much stronger privacy protections. It's really clear that for many women, the fact that they can't control their data on social media platforms the way they want is a real problem. And so I think we need to look much more at the broader ecosystem. And for example, these questions of privacy. What can we actually do, both at the policy level in India, what kind of laws do we need around data protection, but also what are things a platform needs to change? So let's say, for example, Facebook has its real name policy, and it's often argued that is supposedly to fight harassment. But there is no research in the world that shows that anonymous accounts are necessarily more harassing than accounts that are identified. What we do have is plenty of evidence that women who are vulnerable in some way, because they're, for example, transgender people who are still transitioning, activists who do not want their caste name to be public. There's so many examples, including in India, that show that real name policies are harmful for women and lead to more harassment. So I think we really need to have a broader debate about those kind of things as well and what needs to shift there.
That's actually really interesting, Dr. Anya, and I think that's an aspect that we haven't been able to cover so far in the campaign. So it's really nice of you to have brought it up and thrown some light on it. Yeah, that's I'm thinking about it, and it's really shocking, some of the statistics, some of the information that you've provided. So thank you for shining some light on that. Sutapa ji, I'd like to ask you, because even though we've been trying to create this awareness and telling people what they can do, a lot of feedback that I've gotten is that women still feel like, it's too tedious a process to go out there and, actually file a complaint. And is there an easier way that we can, kind of bring them towards justice and bring them towards, speaking out, stepping up, something that would, because a lot of people still feel ashamed to kind of step up and speak out, and they feel there's kind of a stigma attached to, being labeled as someone who has been harassed online, or someone who has, faced revenge porn, so to say, online. Kyunki, in our country, a woman, her izzat is her, the most important thing to her. So I feel like, are there any measures that we can take to kind of simplify the process where people can actually step up and, take action?
You have to complain. You have to lodge an FIR, right? There is no point in getting scared or intimidated. As I said, there are cyber cells. There are a lot of helplines. You have 1098, you have 100, you have 112. You even have a DWCD website, right? So awareness about these things everyone has to have the awareness, the knowledge about all these things. Different states have different helplines also, right? So that is also women, children, everybody should know about all these things. And you have to be confident. See, many of these complaints are not registered, FIRs are not registered because of the feeling that, nothing is going to happen, right? So we have to come out of that feeling of despondency. The ashavan rahiye, right? There is no point in becoming desperate and despondent about things, because you have to remember that these digital footprints, they just don't go away. And cyber forensics is a real science, and it is advancing. So it's very easy to nab the perpetrators, right? Provided you are able to produce the evidence. The laws are also very strong. Do we need more laws? Maybe we need to look into it, because it has to be broadened. The net of the law, I feel, my sense is it needs to be broadened. But yes, we need better implementation of these laws by the cyber cells or by the police. And so, the most important thing is the mission statement of this event today, Abbas, right? The victims have to speak up. We have this strange and strong subculture of silence in our society, but we will have to break it. That is the bottom line. Because, not speaking up does individual as well as collective harm. It's like double jeopardy. You are not getting justice yourself, and you are encouraging the perpetrators. They are emboldened if you don't report, if you don't come up, if you don't speak up. And again, another bottom line is, as I've been saying, don't feel helpless.
I'm really happy to have had this panel of such esteemed guests. I think this is a poster for girl power, woman power, and women helping each other out. We resonate so much with each other's thoughts right here today, and I'm sure that we'll be able to reach out to a lot more people. Thank you so much, Sutapa ji, Swati ji, Anya, for being here. It was truly a pleasure listening to you all.